Why in the world is this single mother in her 30s wasting her time starting a YouTube channel? Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, which let's face it, you are, because this is a new channel and I currently only have 5 subscribers, which to be honest I'm a little surprised about. Which, by the way, if you are one of those 5 subscribers, I would love it if you would introduce yourself to me, because I am really curious to see whose attention I've caught. So if you are so inclined, say hi in the comments, all right? So let's get to the focus of this video, which is why in the world is this 34-year-old single mother wasting her time starting a YouTube channel? I have a few things that all kind of contributed and culminated into me making the decision to finally start a YouTube channel after years of thinking about it. Let me take you back. This is actually not my first YouTube channel. In 2018, I was working on my graduate degree. It was online, and I often felt like it was very difficult for me to concentrate because I was studying from home. I didn't have the option like I did when I was doing my undergrad to go, work at coffee shops and whatnot, because at this point I was already working full-time and I had my daughter, so I couldn't just like take off when I felt like it. So one night, it was late, I was studying, and I just wished that I had someone there with me to work with me, basically. And so it occurred to me to go on YouTube and type in "study with me." Lo and behold, I found some videos of literally people just studying online, and I was like, this is amazing. I looked for it not really expecting, but I was like, let me just check if there's something there. And sure enough, somebody had already thought of it. But this was what helped me get through my last term of my graduate studies. Study with me videos, or what is known as body doubling. Once I started seeing some new channels pop up, because I finished my degree in October of 2020, and of course by this point this stuff blew up, the study with me videos. This is really when I noticed that like it just became like this huge things, and the videos started getting kind of sophisticated and lots of editing, whereas the first ones that I found was literally just a real-time video with the Pomodoro timer. So these are the types of videos I started creating. That was my little foray into the YouTube world for the first time. And the only reason that I felt like I could do it is because I had a smidgen of editing experience. So my first ever editing experience was actually in one of my undergrad courses. The course had nothing to do with video editing. It was actually an anthropology course. I have an undergrad degree in psychology and an undergrad degree in anthropology. And one of my very last courses was an anthropology class, but this particular professor, she did videography, and she decided that that would be the format that we would take in the class. So our project for the entire semester, like our big final grade, was creating a video, which was very daunting to me because I was like, I don't know literally not a thing about video editing. And we had partners. Of course, I got the crappiest partner who didn't do anything. Anyways, it got me started into video editing, and I got to see the software and kind of mess around with it a little bit, and the audio, and just learn a smidgen of it. So that was the first dip of my toe into the world of editing. That was just, one semester, and then I was like, okay, whatever, that's past. And then fast forward to 2021, I had to do staff development for my teaching job. One of the options was WeVideo, which is basically like one of the platforms for video editing, like CapCut, Final Cut Pro, all those. I took that course and I learned a little bit more. right around the same time, I moved to a new apartment. I was like, this is a beautiful apartment. This would be so cute for study with me videos. And I did make a few videos in my previous apartment, and I just got so busy with teaching. I was exhausted. If you saw my quit teaching video, you already know how I feel about that. I did not have a good experience, so I never continued making the videos. To my surprise, when I went onto the channel, I was like cracking up at the fact that there's like a few of them on there. I just thought that was so funny and so cringy. So that was that with that channel. In 2022, at the end of the school year, I quit my teaching job. All of a sudden, I found myself with a little bit of time. I haven't had a full-time job since then. I've been freelancing, doing contract work. Another thing that has happened recently is at the end of last year, 2023, or in the middle of last year actually, my daughter got her first job. All of a sudden, I found myself with a lot of free time while she was at work. So that, along with the fact that I wasn't working a full-time job, along with the fact that now I'm actually doing most of my work from home. I found myself for the first time, basically since I was a kid, having extra time on my hands. And so for the first time since then, I've actually started to feel boredom again. I've completely forgot what it felt like to feel bored, because I had my kid at 17 years old and the father was never in the picture. So it's been very, 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 very busy for me for the last like 18 years. So after having the opportunity to feel bored for a while, my imagination just kind of started working again. I wanted a creative outlet, you know, to kind of squelch that boredom that I was feeling for the first time ever, or for the first time in a long time. One other reason that I think I really started having this thought of a YouTube channel was because of my mother. So my mother is in her 60s, and she recently told me that she wanted to start a YouTube channel, and I was like, what? You know, it's kind of funny seeing your parents doing something out of the norm, especially at that age. I was like, do it. So she hasn't started it because she depends on me, because my mother doesn't do computers. Long story. I'll talk about that maybe in the future. The point is that that's really cool that she's thinking about that. So it kind of got that idea floating around in my head too. I mentioned that my undergrad degree is in psychology. Back then, I wasn't sure. When I was choosing my major, I wasn't sure what to choose, but I decided on psychology because I thought that it was very important. And you have to understand that when I was a senior in high school, it wasn't like it is now. People didn't talk about anxiety and depression, and it was just very much not a mainstream thing. And I knew back then that it was going to be. And I was like, this is what interests me. This is what I want to do. And if I study it, I will be able to jump on that train basically when it does become something that's more accepted or more talked about. Now, all of these years later, I realize that we're living that now. Everybody talks about mental health. And here I am. I had the foresight back then to know that this is where things were heading, and yet I still am not partaking of it, and I am not contributing to it. So I did eventually go back and I got my Master of Science in Psychology. And right after that, well, during my time in school, I was actually teaching at a public school, so I haven't used it. So that was another one of the reasons that I really felt that it might be a good idea. So I wanted to find a platform where I could share all of the things that I've learned through my formal education, but also in a way to make it accessible to anyone. So I've never really had an interest of doing like one-on-one counseling or anything like that, because, for example, looking back on my life, a teenage girl maybe might not have the means to do therapy, but she could definitely look on YouTube. And same for like a young woman in my situation. Like when I was in my early 20s, I was having a really hard time and I had so many questions, and I looked for resources and I couldn't really find anything relatable to me. So I feel like I've gained all of this knowledge that I can use to help people, and I've always wanted to help, in particular, young girls or young women who were in similar situations or are in similar situations that I was in. If I can help them, then that's what I want. And what easier way is there than YouTube? I mean, my quitting teaching video has already reached a few hundred people. That wouldn't have been possible without YouTube or some other type of social media. So all of these things culminated into me. Recently, I heard one of Mel Robbins' interviews where she says something along the lines of, if you have a dream that's meant for you, it's always going to be there, even if it goes dormant for a while in your life. But when you're older, you're gonna think, I wanted to do this and I never did. And I think about that often, actually. I think about dying often. I don't want that to be me at the end of my life. I don't want to think about all the things that I had in my head that I wanted to do, but I was too scared to try. I just had it in my head, oh, I would think about a certain topic and just be like, oh, I could make a video of that, I could make a video of that, or if only people knew this, because there's so much information out there that would be so helpful to people and they just don't know that it exists. I would like to be able to help those people who are looking to help themselves. So ever since I heard that interview of Mel Robbins, I couldn't get it out of my head. And then I saw in my feed one day a video that said, start today. How YouTube changed my life as a 40-year-old introvert. And this video was by Mikey Rogers. He talked about how he literally, I think it was like almost a decade that he thought about creating a YouTube. He had that thought in his head, and it took him so long to finally decide to do it. In the end, he ends with saying that the only thing he would have changed on his YouTube journey was starting earlier. So I was like, okay, universe, I get it, I'll listen. So that's when I finally decided, and I'm trying to live by the anecdote, what is this, whatever it's called, done is better than perfect, because I didn't even realize that I do have a little bit of perfectionism in me when I really care about something. I'm not a perfectionist with everything, but if I do care about something and if I'm putting myself out there, then I do want it to be perfect. And if it's not perfect, I'll just either quit or I'll just hide it so I won't expose myself. So this is very vulnerable for me to be doing, because I just, like I said, I haven't even told my family or any friends or anything. Nobody knows I'm doing this. And I'm working really hard on trusting myself, on getting better at following my intuition and listening to my inner voice, my gut, because when I do that, I find that I feel like I'm going in the right direction. So that voice inside of me was kind of starting to blare, and I was like, okay, I got it. I'm starting a YouTube channel. Maybe it's kind of silly and like, who does this girl think she is? But it's something, like I said, that just I got in my head, and I feel like I need to pursue it. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm a few videos in, and this time around with this new channel, I'm already having fun. I guess the stuff that I learned previously is like in there now. So it didn't feel as daunting to me to start the editing process now than it did with the previous channel, which as you can see here, I didn't even try. This was a placeholder, the name. I never even got around to like really finding a name that I liked. I only did a few videos and then I just kind of chucked that project. But I remember feeling so overwhelmed at everything that I had to do. And it's funny to me now because the videos were so simple. And I've done a little bit, you know, like more complex stuff, I guess you could say, this time around. And I'm really just having fun with it. So my hope is for me to be able to get some information out for people who might not find it otherwise. For me, I would love to help, again, young women who are in similar situations that I was in a long time ago, and to give them hope, because I definitely am in a way different position than I was in like back in my early 20s, late teens, early 20s. And I just want to give someone hope. I want to share the knowledge that I've accumulated. I want to document my life. You know, a part of it is just wanting to romanticize my life. I know that's a big thing that's going on right now, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There's definitely still a learning curve, of course. You know, I've only edited a handful of videos, so I'm learning. And one of the challenges that I'm facing is that cringe factor.